And welcome back, fam bam, to another installment of Metaphysics on Your Mind. Again, hopefully everyone's had a great summer so far. I think the last installment that we had was back in June, towards the end of June, so it's been a minute. We've been kind of taking care of this and that on our end, and I'm sure you're doing the same. This episode is I call it Awakenings because, if we kind of go back to the beginning, we started Metaphysics on Your Mind 2 years ago, and I'm not so sure that we knew exactly where we were going with it, but we knew that we believed it would be fruitful to share with people who were interested another perspective or an alternative perspective on many of the ancient writings that many of the religions are based on and mythologies are based on. And specifically in this one, it has been predominantly the Bible. And that's, kind of an obvious reason. If you're in the West, if you're in, the U.S., then chances are that book is going to be, for most or a good chunk of the population, is going to be familiar, right? If we're in a different location, it might be another book. But the Bible is that book for us, obviously, because for obvious reasons. We don't have to go over all of it. The idea of metaphysics for me is that the hidden, or what I would say the esoteric meaning of the Bible ultimately is referencing the practice of meditation, the practice of separating from thoughts of the mind, the practice of connecting vibrationally with the Christ consciousness. In another culture, it would be the Buddha consciousness or the Krishna consciousness or Amun-Ra in ancient Kemet. So the point is that we thought it would be good to share, hey, this is kind of like what we came across through our travels, through our journey in this life, and maybe it can be of some benefit to you. Reasonable minds can differ on things that are not always that consequential, but the main thing that I've learned, at least in my life, is that you have to kind of cherry pick here and there, right? You're putting puzzle pieces together on, just what is this world that we live in, just what is this life that we live, what's it all about, and that's the point, is that the way you come into this world, with as a child and your family and traditions or whatever, is going to condition you, as we kind of broached in the past, is going to condition you, your brain, your mind a certain way, right? This is the way that we do things over here, or the way we do things over there. And we titled this Awakenings because, again, in my journey, it has literally been that, where I awaken to things that I either didn't know about or don't remember. And that's, again, because for me, the idea of the ancestral connection, the incarnation of souls, is a continuum, okay? It's not an isolated thing in a vacuum somewhere. Everything is connected in this universe. Certainly on the subatomic level, that's a fact. So what I discovered was by attempting to decode these writings, these scriptures, it led me in directions that I wouldn't have known that I was going to go. But you awaken to certain things. You go, aha, and you go off on, over here, or you go off over there for whatever the reason. And the universe will reveal things to you when you're ready. What do they say? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And that's such a true statement, because it's like when you knock at that door and you seek, you will find. It will be revealed to you. But again, you have to be awake to the fact that there's something to be revealed. Again, in my journey, what I've come, and many of you are the same, what I've come to learn is almost nothing in this life is what I thought it was. Okay? It's it's like an onion, right? There's a layer, but below another layer, another layer, another layer. As you try to peel this onion back, right? It's just dense with experience and nuance, and we're trying to navigate our lives. It's almost like a labyrinth, right? Where you're a maze, where you're kind of following a pattern or a path, and it may end up somewhere, it may not. But ultimately, it's all important, because everything happens for a reason. When you go down the wrong path, that is only going to set you up for redirecting yourself to a different path. But you won't know that until you kind of gotten on the wrong path. I mean, that's life experience, right? You don't want to go through everything in life as life experience. You do want to be able to learn from those before you, so you're not having to repeat errors that may have happened in the past, and you are the beneficiary of the knowledge that's passed down to you, so that you might be able to, kind of skirt the edges. This particular series, Metaphysics on Your Mind, I'm not sure where we're going. I don't know what's up ahead. All I know is that we've enjoyed exploring this terrain. Again, reasonable minds can differ. It's not just my take, because I've learned from others. So this is representative of how I learned that the practice of meditation, which exists everywhere, well, in most of the planet, under different cultures, I learned for myself that the Bible, what I grew up on in church, was actually referencing meditation. And yet I had come up in an environment where meditation was looked at suspiciously, because you were opening your mind to who knows what. Well, exactly. I mean, that's what the Christ consciousness is you have to open your mind to a higher vibration of being. That is the whole point of Buddha consciousness, is opening your mind so that you can connect with the higher, with the divine, with that higher aspect of yourself, or God, or whatever you want to call it. So it reinforced for me that, this isn't just, meditation isn't just for this group or for that group. It's referenced all over, but it's referenced within the cultural context of where we're discussing it, where we're talking about it. So in our case, I began to see that many of the stories in there, actually, it's not that, I won't say that they're not true. They're just maybe not as literal as maybe we may have thought, but the symbolic value of it means that it is true, okay? Because everything is energy. That's the key. is that once you realize that everything is energy, that the Christ consciousness is energy, the Buddha consciousness is energy, Amun-Ra is energy, the devil is an energy, Satan is an energy. These are energies that you can align yourself with if you choose to, because we live in a free will universe. So you have the choice, because the energy in and of itself is neutral. Okay, we talked about that in some of the earlier videos. The energy, the electricity, the power source is neutral. It's the intention you bring to it that determines whether, we call it negative or positive or good or bad, right? There's a shadow side to everything. Just like on one level, well, like when I began to learn more about certain systems that were, looked at sideways, again, in my youth, when I began to study numerology and when I acquainted myself with energy reading and with Wicca, that, hey, there's black magics or dark magic as they call it, but then there's also white magic. There's a light side and a shadow side to everything. It has to be that way, right? In order for there to be a heaven, there has to be a hell, or there would be no heaven. You wouldn't have to even say heaven. It would just be. But the fact that we have distinctions means that we live, at least in human form, we live amongst pairs of opposites. Up, down, hot, cold, good, bad, black, white, whatever. And we navigate between the parameters of opposites. They must exist. So when we talked about shadow work, for instance, in meditation, you're not eliminating your shadow. It can't be done, actually. The trick is you don't want to live out of your shadow side, but it's there, and it has to be dealt with. But you don't. Well, I shouldn't say you don't. Many of us might choose not to live out of our shadow side, but we might by default. Why? Because of the way we've been conditioned, maybe the way we've been raised, maybe the traditions we've been in, maybe the kind of social fabric that we've been a part of. It kind of suggests that there's different perspectives, but it's all part of a piece. So even the idea of a devil, which really is nothing more than addictions. Okay, what your addictions, what your corrupted quote unquote nature is addicted to, things that are external to yourself, in a sense that's the devil, or evil with a D on it. And we've turned it into a personality, because the energy of the devil is actually energy that we ourselves can align with. So it's not to be looked at as a person, more so as an energy. And you can align yourself with any number of energetic signatures. You could even call them energetic personalities if you want to go, put it in a kind of a personality context. You can, because everything is energy, right? It's either of a high vibration or a low vibration. And that's science. That's just the way it is. And since we know that, we can look at these stories, we can look at these writings and understand that they're talking about something that's constant, not necessarily something just historical in time. If it's not relevant to you today in some way, then really, who cares? That's the value that I find by taking an alternative view, going beyond the exoteric story or outer covering that you kind of read on the surface, and going below that to the esoteric or hidden, or some you would even call occult, which just means hidden meaning. It has to be decoded to get, shall we say, those higher resonances. And that usually requires that you have some kind of entry or awakening to the fact that there is even something to decode, that what's being said isn't literally what's being said, something else which is true is being said, but it is being delivered in this form. So I'm hoping that that's where the value is. It's not everybody agreeing to everything or seeing it this way or that. It's understanding that this universe is so multi-dimensional. Our experience is so multi-dimensional that these, what I would say, inspired or higher writings have many meanings, depending upon where you are, where I am, consciousness-wise. But the idea, again, is that if we know from science that the universe is expanding, which is basically consciousness expanding, then it kind of gives the clue that that's what we are to do on an individual basis, is to prepare ourselves to expand consciousness-wise. And the only way you can do that is to awaken that there is something to expand about yourself, about your experience. And through looking at these writings, if we can find a way to connect the dots to everyday life of today, then there's a good deal of value, as opposed to just reading it as a historical or literal document or whatever. There's a word behind the words, and that's the value. Now, not everybody is interested in that, and that's okay. We're all on different paths, right? We're all on different. In fact, the mission statement for all of us is going to be different from person to person. There are some here, and this is just what it is, who will awake to the idea of ascending, of rising in consciousness, rising in vibration, and then there will be some of us who have made the decision, and I won't get into how, but they made the decision to descend. In other words, the experience that might be needed for that soul may be one of, shall we say, dipping into the abyss, into the flesh, into the earthy material of life. In others, it might be of a bit more of a spiritual nature. And when I say spiritual, I mean, if you're going to ascend, the ascension is happening spiritually. If you're descending, it is also happening spiritually, but it will, like everything, it will manifest ultimately in the flesh, where we will be able to see the fruits of our labors. We will see what we are reaping from what we have sown. That's all. It's let's get an idea that there's something that maybe we had to wake up to because of the free will universe that we live in, that we had to decide, you know what? If I'm here and I get to decide what I'm going to do here, then what am I going to do? So that's pretty much it. Again, I'm not sure where we're headed down the line. Right, Tony?
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But we just thought we would come back, holler at you a little bit. We have another video after this one. It's a musical track that deals with maybe the interplay that happens, the dynamics that happen within the mind, between, shall we say, the ego or a less developed ego and a higher self. You might look at it that way if you check it out. That's called Masquerade, Made in the Shade. That's going to follow this. But what I thought was relevant, which is why we kind of paired it with this, is that I believe we wake up to the fact that it's our choice how we want or what our purpose is to be in this life, or what we awaken to as our purpose, right? That's our choice. And so the more avenues or opportunities or information that you have available to you, how could that be bad? So anyway, I want to thank everyone for following us the last couple of years here and there on our little travels here. And we really appreciate it. The subscriptions, the likes, all that stuff is fantastic. And hopefully we'll continue to share with you our particular vantage point on things, and you might find some benefit, you might not. But it has been our pleasure to do so. And I, once again, all praise for me to the Most High God, Mother and Father, my ancestors, and my spirit team. Again, without whom I wouldn't be here. So I bid you peace. What was Soul Train? What did they used to say on Soul Train? What was it? Peace, love, and soul? Peace, love, and soul. Anyway, we thank you guys for hanging with us, and we'll see you at the next one. Peace.